some noise for
Orange Juice in a Blunt.
Whoreson, the story of a ghetto pimp. "17. Diane helped me out of my car, and the early morning chill wind helped to sober me up. She come down to Carl's after-hours club and waited patiently until I'd finished gambling and drinking. The sun was just coming out as we staggered down the street. By the time we reached the hotel, I'd got control of myself enough so that I could walk without any help. The lobby was deserted at this time of the morning, except for the night clerk and a couple of fags. When the elevator went up, I had to fight to hold down the hamburgers I had eaten earlier. The sound of loud music reached us before we could even get the apartment door open. "Sounds like somebody else is up besides us, Daddy," she said. I pushed open the door, and the sound of loud jazz blasted me in the face. For a few moments, the women's faces in the room were a blur, but I finally managed to focus in on them, and what I saw came as a surprise. Boots and a tall white blonde were dancing together. They were both about the same height, and they were swaying to the beat of the music with an intimacy that suggested a strange relationship between two women. Boots broke away when I entered. Diane poured coal oil on the fire. "Don't you stop belly rubbing just because we showed on the set." "It ain't what you think it is, bitch," Boots said. "Whoreson, this is Jerry," she explained. "I met her downstairs, and she wanted to know who you were, so I told her to come on up and meet you. Oh, yeah, I also told her that you didn't have girlfriends, only whores, so she brung her clothes. Oh, yeah," she added. "She belonged to that damn nigger that's always downstairs bothering us whenever we come in. You know, the one you had some words with yesterday." So, out of spite, I let her stay. Jerry was 24 years old, and the first white girl I'd ever had. Not really having any connections for a white girl, I allowed her to lie around the pad for about a week before deciding to let Boots take her down to my whorehouse on Hastings. The colored tricks went mad over her. It lasted exactly 1 week before the police caved the door in, taking all the whores in the house to jail. I knew that my whorehouse was busted before the police came out the door with the girls. I joined the crowd, like a fool, and watched the police load the cursing women into police cars. Before I could leave the crowd, 2 tall white vice officers walked up from the rear of the crowd and arrested me. Another group of my girls were in the crowd, and they caused one hell of a commotion before some more police busted them. They put me in a car with 3 of my girls from the crowd. I yelled out the car window to some friends, "One of you get in touch with Big Mama and have her get the bondsman on the case." This was the beginning of the end. From here on out, my luck changed. I've been enjoying the sweet without the bitter. Now my turn had come to start paying dues. Everybody made bond, except the white girl. They held her as a witness for the state. The rest of my girls were fined $50 for loitering in a house of ill repute, while they charged me with pandering and Boots with aiding and abetting. My bond was set at $5,000, while Boots was set at $3,000. We both came out on bond at the same time. The lawyer socked it to me for a big fee, and my bankroll began to dwindle at a shocking pace. It turned out that this was Jerry's first arrest. Because of this, the police contacted her parents out in Bloomfield Township. When they found out that their precious daughter had been staying with a black man, they went through the roof of the police station. With the police browbeating her and her parents screaming at her, she became a cooperating witness for the police. We stayed out on bond for 2 months before going back to court and being found guilty. 1 week later, we went back to court for sentencing. My lawyer promised me probation because of my age. "Don't worry about a thing, Mr. Jones," he said. "How could a 17-year-old kid possibly corrupt a 24-year-old woman? If anything," he told me jokingly, "the judge should give her 90 days for teaching a young boy bad habits." So, the day of my sentence, I went to court snug as a bug. Between me and my lawyer, we had a tacit agreement. Boots was in a cross. I figured she would get about 6 months, but she could stand it better than me. The first one the judge passed sentence on was Boots. He looked down from his bench at us, as though we had crawled out from under a rock. He gave her 3 to 5 years in the Detroit's Women's House of Correction. Before he could announce mine, I knew the cross had gone down, with me caught in the middle. He said something about my behavior and also mentioned the cutting I had done on the girl's face last year. Then he finally lowered the bomb. He sentenced me to from 6 to 7 years. Instead of probation, I got prison, and I had known that white girl 2 weeks. I was in a state of shock when they led me from the courtroom. I stayed in the county jail for 2 weeks, waiting to be shipped out to Jackson Prison. This was to make me be glad to get to prison, because couldn't nothing be worse than a county jail. We had to sleep on mattresses on the floor because there wasn't enough bunks to go around. The food was just enough to get by on, and the weak didn't get theirs. Bowls were fought over just because some men wanted another piece of meat. The weak, the scared, the timid made it a point to give their meat to one of the stronger inmates. This way, they had someone to protect them on the ward, not only because of the food, but because rape was a way of life when the lights went out at night. On my first day in the county jail, I had 3 fights before the night was over. After that, the wild young boys on the ward gathered around me, and we started a wolf pack. If one fought, we all fought. In less than 1 week, we ruled the ward. My day finally arrived. With 2 other prisoners, we were handcuffed together and loaded into the rear seat of an auto. Our hands were cuffed tightly behind us, and leg irons were firmly secured to our ankles. One long chain went through each man's leg iron, securing all 3 of us together. In the 2-hour drive to the prison, I watched the passing scenery with unseeing eyes. When the car pulled up in front of the gate, I stared at the huge walls surrounding the penitentiary. I watched men in blue uniforms trimming the grass and hedges in front of the institution. There were no guards visible around them. I would learn later that these were trustees, and it would be many years before I would reach this status. Like many black men before me, I realized that it was ridiculous to worry about that which you couldn't change. I was confronted with the problem of making my mind accept the fact that I would be behind these forbidding gray walls until my sentence was served. It is typical of man's nature that he can adjust to almost any environment. Prison life was no different. The only large problem was the absence of any females. Some men even adjust to this. I met men who had been sentenced to life imprisonment, and they'd adapted to this abnormal condition. Many of these men went so far as to abstain from indulging in relationships with the various homosexuals who abounded in prison, while others quickly accepted this as the new way of life, and fell in love with one of the boy girls. After we got out of the car, they marched us inside. Here we undressed, leaving our civilian clothes behind and putting on the prison blues. Many of us would wear these clothes and similar ones for many years before we would have another chance to wear civilian clothes. From there, we were marched to 7 Block, a place in Jackson Prison